Division now we have the Prince of Peru, Claudio Puelles versus the Hangman, Dan Hooker. And you know, Dan, he went on that 4-fight win streak at one point in time. Actually, he went on a 1, 2, 3, 4. He was on a 4-fight win streak. Then he lost one, and then he went on a 3-fight win streak, and that was good. That was a good little stretch of successes of fights. But man, you know, the Dustin Poirier fight, that was a war.
That's what I was gonna say. You think it's awkward for him because Michael Chandler and Dustin fighting in the
No, they always match people up like this, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I'm talking about people who he lost to. They fighting and they probably can get a title shot after.
Yeah.
So I mean,
you got to be winning, man. And
yeah.
So then he lost to Dustin, went to war with him. He got absolutely decimated by Michael Chandler. He beat Nasrat, and Nasrat is again one of those type of guys. When they want somebody to get back on track and get a W, they kind of throw you him.
Keeper.
Yeah, look, Ian Kudalaba. You know, you're supposed to get back on track with him. Then he took the Islam fight on short notice, and boy, that has aged poorly because I don't care if he had a year to train for that fight. It was the same thing was going to happen. And then Arnold could be fighting for the interim title here pretty soon, or he gonna be in contention for it at least.
And I don't agree with that decision on him dropping down to featherweight and fighting Arnold Allen. I don't know what
terrible.
He's
terrible,
and he cuts all this weight to. I hear stories about him cutting weight to make lightweight. Man, he's almost dying.
And then you know the thing is, man, when some fighters get this stigma where it's like, I'm the tough guy who will step up against anybody, any weight class, anytime. And now look at your career. This is what happens, man. You got to stop doing it. You don't have to, your job is to win. You got a family to provide for. Not to prove you're a tough guy. We already know. We done seen you knock out people. We done seen you go to war. You ain't got to prove that no more. Your job is to take care of your family and take care of your health. And this is bad, man. This is bad management. This is bad fight picking. But I will say, this is a bit of it's dangerous for a different reason. You don't have to worry about the knockout necessarily.
And he ain't got to worry about takedowns either.
And you ain't got to worry about the takedowns. You only got to worry about the jiu-jitsu. And I don't think Claudio can get there. I watched the Martin Bravo fight, and man, he didn't really have much to offer Martin, man. He couldn't take Martin down. And
you seen his takedowns, man? He was doing,
garbage.
He was pulling legs.
Garbage.
Chase Hooper.
Boo-boo.
Yeah, that dude, what is going on?
Garbage. Even when he fought, okay, and it gets interesting. Felipe Silva was beating the dog tar out of him. Did you see that fight?
Yeah.
He beat him. He dropped him so many times in that fight. And then he dropped, Felipe dropped Claudio. Claudio grabbed the knee from guard, turned it around into a knee bar, and basically Felipe did all that for nothing. I don't know too much about the Marcos fight. I don't even know who this is, but he's 6-5 at the time. He was 6-5, so he's supposed to win that one. Sure, he's supposed to win that by Superman punch. When you 6-5 in the UFC, you're supposed to do whatever you want to that person. But anyway, Jordan Levitt, it gets interesting because he out grappled Jordan Levitt, but Jordan was going for takedowns that he couldn't get. And
Jordan
then
stayed at home that night, man.
Yeah, that was he could have stayed at home that night for Patty too. But anyway, but Claudio,
hold on.
But that was more so Jordan going for lazy takedowns, and it was the fact that he wants to get the fight to the ground too, but he ain't got no wrestling. So it was like a cancellation of that, and it was just weird. Chris Guttemacher, I'm not gonna lie, that's impressive. Because Chris is a tough dude. He is like a real good grappler.
Yeah, but Chris is winning too, man.
I know.
That's the thing. Like Claudio, a lot of his fights that he won, he was losing.
Even Clay Guida. Claudio didn't go for the takedown that led to the knee bar. Clay Guida did that. Clay did that. I didn't understand that decision, and then it cost him. So now we get to Dan Hooker, and Dan don't really fight like that, but Dan has been making terrible decisions lately, and I think Dan probably will make a bad decision here.
Well, he's desperate for a win now.
He's desperate for a win, and I can see him hurting Claudio going in, and that getting flipped around because now you got Dan, who I mean,
I think the timing is bad for Dan. If they fought 2 years ago, Dan would destroy him.
Even the Claudio from now, if they fought 2 years ago, I think Dan obliterates him.
It's just Claudio. He's on a win streak, man.
And he's finding ways to win.
It looks like the little striking get a little bit better.
And that's the messed up part about this. The messed up part about this is that Claudio's striking ain't there, but it's slowly getting a little bit better. It ain't huge leaps, but it's getting good enough to where he might be able to kind of hang with Dan enough to where I can see how we'll be looking up and Dan might be on his back.
And Dan can make a mistake and end up getting submitted.
And I can see all that happening. It's like the timing is so terrible. Like Dan is going down the ladder just enough and Claudio is going up the ladder just enough that I think
there's only one thing, dude. He don't have nobody other than Clay, but Clay is not really elite. Look who Dan fought against his last 5 fights. Look who Claudio fought, man. So I think, honestly, this fight depends on where Dan Hooker is mentally.
Can Dan Hooker knock him out in one punch or one knee? That's my question. Because if he take any type of follow-up or ground and pound, he's going to get beat.
I think it depends on how good Claudio's striking defense is. Is it improved? We really haven't been seeing a lot of Claudio's striking. And, like, we know it was horrible when he first came to UFC, but his fights are hitting the ground. That Jordan Levitt fight, they both on the ground, like having a WWE match.
That wasn't nothing but Abu Dhabi Comeback Club. That was just a straight, Fury grappling match right there. That's all that was.
That was a WWE Crown Jewel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like we're not seeing, striking. We're not seeing, like, him being, like, well-rounded. We're not seeing all of Claudio's skills. So the question is Dan Hooker, is he good mentally where he was years ago? And how good is Claudio's striking, the striking defense?
I keep telling you there's a momentum to losing, and right now Dan Hooker is in that place. And this is that Tony Ferguson thing where it's just like people that I normally wouldn't say would have a chance. I think Jim Miller can beat Dan Hooker today. Ain't that crazy? Because Dan Hooker embarrassed Jim Miller, remember? But I think if you run that fight back, I think if you run that fight back, Jim Miller might do whatever he wants.
What you just said, though, how did he beat Jim Miller?
He knocked him out with a knee when he was going for a takedown.
Just think about how Claudio is reckless with his takedowns.
I was looking at Claudio's takedowns to see how he would get the fight to the ground. And essentially, he don't change levels and dive on a takedown like he's supposed to. He literally just dives on a leg because he diving on a knee bar, like how Chase Hooper be doing that goofy stuff.
Or he does this thing where, like, he'll get taken down and he'll just end up grabbing the knee from the bottom some kind of way, man. And, like, he banks on his opponent making mistakes. And I don't think Dan Hooker
is going to do that.
I don't think he's going to take him down. Like, especially, this ain't the time for Dan Hooker to be making mistakes like that. I don't think, mentally, like, he has a lot of mistakes in him to be doing that.
He ain't got no more left. It's gonna be 3 in a row.
Yeah, I know, man.
And that's gonna be.
And then you train it. And then you got Brad Riddell fighting Israel and Carlos. So you got some of your teammates fighting. So you can't go out there and do that and get embarrassed in front of everybody, man. But
what will be different from the last?
It'll be different because Islam is champion now, so it ain't the worst. But it depends on Dan Hooker's mindset, which
the Islam one is hard to put on him because that was, the Dustin one, he was winning at first. And
yeah, some people thought he won.
Some people, and I didn't want to say that, but a lot of people out there think that he actually won that fight. So that's what make it kind of weird because you got like 2 sketchy losses on there. That's like, that Dustin one probably could have been something else, and that Islam one probably shouldn't have happened. And it's so funny because he lost to Dustin and he lost to Michael, and then he won against Nasrat. So then with the Islam one, at the time, I thought that he was on a big loser streak. When he took that one, I thought he was just trying to take a fight on short notice that maybe he could win and get back in the win column. Come to find out, he actually won one, and if he hadn't taken the Islam fight, he'd have took another fight that he probably could have won.
I just thought about when he fought Nasrat. Nasrat was putting hands on him. He had to resort to taking him down. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that, man. It's like, man,
The Arnold Allen one, man, he did land on Allen once or twice.
That's what I was gonna say.
He did stumble Arnold, but Arnold just that dude right now, man. Yeah. It's just you ain't.
And Arnold didn't knock him out or nothing. It was just like a standing TKO.
Nah, he didn't knock him out. It was worse though, because he took him out. He didn't knock him out, but he took him out. Because after, you got to think about how many times Arnold cracked him. Man, Dan probably was. out of consciousness way before that happened. So by the time he started landing the standing elbows, the referee was saving his life. Like, and I went back and watched that fight. Dan didn't even contest it. Like, he knew, like, yeah. And it's like, man, that's crazy.
I think this is easy. I'm gonna be real, man. I tried not to make it biased, but they gave Dan Hooker this fight for him to get back on the win streak, man.
Because stylistically, Claudio,
if Claudio was well rounded, it'd be different. But his striking, like, he kind of fights like a better, refined version of Chase Hooper, if you think about it. And have you seen his striking? And he does this thing where, like, he backs up and he throws spinning back fists and he throws head kicks from weird angles.
And that might land on Dan Hooker.
No, it's not, man. It's a bit, but it'd be different. It's how you throw it. It's your intentions. His head kicks ain't to knock people out. It's to, okay, I'm gonna just throw this to
do it
to get the fight to the ground. I'm just throwing these strikes, bro.
I'm gonna throw a spinning head kick in some kind of way that's gonna lead to us grabbing each other, and then I can turn it into a knee bar. And the funny part is, it might happen. That's the crazy thing about this. This very well might happen at this point in Dan's career. If I'm putting money in this fight, personally, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
If Carlos had better striking, then he can force Dan to take him down, and then he can submit him, because that's what Nazareth was putting hands on him, and then Dan had to resort to taking him down.
But what if Claudio do come out and hit Dan Hooker just enough? Because it seemed like Dan, the punishment that he's able to absorb,
or accumulating.
I think it's accumulating, because after that Dustin fight, it just wasn't the same, man. And then he fought Baco Chandler.
Yeah, but he ain't really got to worry about that from Claudio.
I know, but what does that do to his chin, though? That's what I'm saying. So where people without that kind of power can now, it open the door for them to be able to do that. Now I know Claudio don't have the confidence in he don't have the striking integrity to really just pull that off. But with that being said, Dan Hooker should win, but Claudio probably find a way to pull it off, man. It just at this point in their career.
Think he should have won that Clay Guida fight. Clay should have kept the fight standing up and made it his type of fight. But you know, Clay, he got a history of doing that with people. He did the same thing with Mark Madsen. That should have been him fighting against Grant, but it is what it is. But but this is an easy win for Dan. He should get his first round knockout.
Should be. Nothing would surprise me at this point. I might slip on a banana peel and.